Love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. Do good to those who hate you. A spiritual exploration of transcending the ego through radical compassion. Few spiritual teachings are as confronting, paradoxical, and transformative as the instruction to love your enemies, bless those who curse you, and do good to those who hate you. On the surface, it appears to contradict the most basic instincts of human survival. Our natural tendencies lean towards self-protection, retaliation, and the drawing of clear boundaries between those who support us and those who oppose us. From the perspective of the ego, the identity shaped by fear, memory, and personal history, this teaching seems unreasonable, even dangerous. The ego asks, why should I extend kindness to someone who has harmed me? Why offer goodwill where hostility has been given? Why respond to hatred with compassion? Yet from a spiritual perspective, this teaching is not a command to abandon wisdom or self-respect. It is an invitation to transcend the limitations of reactive consciousness. It points toward a higher mode of being, one that is not governed by the instinct to defend identity at all costs, but by the deeper recognition of shared humanity and interconnected existence. To love those who oppose you is not to condone their behavior. It is to refuse to become defined by it. The ego thrives on division. It categorizes people into allies and adversaries, friends and threats. It builds identity through contrast. I am good because they are bad. I am right because they are wrong. This comparative framework creates a sense of certainty, but it also perpetuates cycles of resentment and hostility. When someone harms us, the ego interprets the event as an attack on our worth or safety. It responds with anger, withdrawal, or revenge, actions intended to restore control. In doing so, it reinforces separation. Spiritually, however, separation is an illusion. At a deeper level of awareness, all individuals are seen as participants in the same unfolding process of growth and learning. Each person carries wounds, fears, and misunderstandings that influence their behavior. To act harmfully often reflects inner turmoil rather than inherent malice. This does not excuse wrongdoing, but it reframes it. When we view hostility through a spiritual lens, we begin to see that those who act from hatred are themselves entangled in suffering. Their actions, while painful, are expressions of disconnection from others and from their own inner peace. To respond with hatred in return is to mirror this disconnection. To respond with love is to interrupt it. Loving your enemies does not mean accepting mistreatment or remaining in harmful situations. Spiritual love is not passive submission. It is an active refusal to internalize negativity. When we harbor resentment, we carry the emotional residue of past conflicts into our present experience. Anger and bitterness consume mental and physical energy. They tether us to the very individuals or events we wish to escape. In this sense, forgiveness and compassion are not gifts we give to others. They are freedoms we grant ourselves. To bless those who curse you is to release the grip of their hostility on your consciousness. It is to say, your actions will not determine my inner state. By choosing goodwill, we prevent external negativity from becoming an internal prison. This is not weakness, it is mastery. Spiritually, the capacity to respond with kindness in the face of adversity reflects a profound alignment with inner truth. It demonstrates that our behavior is guided not by impulse, but by intention. Conflict often operates through escalation. Hurt leads to retaliation, which leads to further hurt. Over time, this cycle becomes self-perpetuating, fueled by memories of past grievances. Loving those who oppose us disrupts this pattern. When hostility is met with unexpected compassion, it creates a moment of dissonance. The anticipated reaction, anger or revenge, does not occur. Instead, the dynamic shifts. This does not guarantee reconciliation, but it introduces the possibility of change. Even if the other person remains resistant, our own experience transforms. We are no longer entangled in reactive patterns. We regain agency over our emotional responses. We become capable of acting from principle rather than pain. Spiritually, this reflects the movement from unconscious reactivity to conscious choice. A central aspect of spiritual growth involves learning to distinguish between a person's actions and their essential nature. While behaviors may be harmful, they do not define the entirety of an individual. To love your enemies is to recognize this distinction. It is to see beyond the surface of behavior to the underlying humanity that exists in every person. This perspective does not ignore accountability. Rather, it situates accountability within a broader context of empathy. When we acknowledge that others, like ourselves, are capable of both harm and healing, we cultivate patience. We become less inclined to reduce individuals to single moments of wrongdoing. This shift fosters humility. It reminds us that we too have acted from fear or misunderstanding at times. Recognizing our own imperfections makes it easier to approach others with compassion rather than condemnation. In many cultural narratives, strength is associated with dominance or control, yet spiritual traditions often redefine strength as the capacity for compassion. To do good to those who hate you requires emotional resilience. It demands that we confront our own anger without allowing it to dictate our actions. It calls for self-awareness, patience, and courage. Such responses are not instinctive, they are cultivated. Through practices such as reflection, meditation, or intentional breathing, we develop the ability to pause before reacting. In this pause, we create space for wisdom to emerge. Compassion becomes a deliberate choice rather than an automatic response. Over time, this choice reshapes our character. We become less susceptible to provocation and more grounded in our values. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as reconciliation or forgetting. Spiritually, however, forgiveness is the process of releasing the emotional charge associated with past harm. It does not require approval of what occurred, nor does it necessitate renewed trust. Instead, it involves acknowledging pain while refusing to let it define the future. When we forgive, we disentangle ourselves from narratives of victimhood or revenge. We reclaim our capacity for peace. Loving those who have harmed us is an extension of this process. It reflects a willingness to move beyond the limitations imposed by resentment. This does not erase memory, but it transforms its significance. Past events become sources of learning rather than ongoing wounds. Ultimately, the ability to love universally arises from an awareness of inner abundance. When we feel secure in our own worth, we are less threatened by criticism or hostility. We do not rely on external validation to maintain self-esteem. This stability enables us to extend kindness without fear of depletion. Spiritually, love is not a finite resource. Offering compassion does not diminish our capacity for self-care. Instead, it often enhances it. Acts of kindness reinforce our connection to others and to our own sense of purpose. They remind us that we are participants in a shared human journey. The instruction to love your enemies, bless those who curse you, and do good to those who hate you is not a call to ignore injustice or abandon boundaries. It is a call to respond to life from a place of higher awareness. It invites us to act from intention rather than impulse. Release resentment in favor of understanding. Interrupt cycles of harm through compassion. See beyond behavior to shared humanity. In doing so, we align with a deeper spiritual truth that love, when chosen consciously, has the power to transform not only relationships, but our own experience of existence. To love in this way is to transcend the ego's limitations. It is to participate in healing within ourselves and within the world. And while such love may not always change others, it inevitably changes us.